Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Peter Pilgrim. I am a ex-contractor, the principal technologist now, and I'm going to talk to you about this IR35 repealed. So the first thing is that IR35 does not equal the off-payroll worker rules. So IR35 is taxation legislation, put my teeth back in, around contractors and how they appear to or not to appear working as a private service company. Okay, this is confusion, but IR35 is not disappearing according to, despite what you're hearing in the press or mishearing in the press. So essentially it is about the off-payroll working rules, which were first introduced into the public sector in 2017, and in 2020 they were meant to be introduced into the private sector but got delayed for a year because of COVID. The pandemic got delayed, and this incorrectly is known as IR35 according to this press release. So what this means is they are going to be repealing this legislation from the 6th of April 2023. From the 6th of April 2023, and from His Majesty's government, workers who are providing their services via an intermediary will once be responsible for determining their own employment status and paying the appropriate amount of tax, corporate tax and director salary and national insurance contribution. This is verbatim from gov.uk, so there's quite some confusion in the wording here. As you know, you can pay yourself through a limited company if you're working as outside IR35, and you pay corporation tax and a direct taxation for national insurance from a smaller director's salary. And that is how it is supposed to be working pre-2017, and how it will be working again from April 2023. And a reminder, I'm recording this in October 2022. The second part, the reason why the government are doing this, since Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng has changed their ideas on growing the economy to free up time and money for businesses that engage contractors that could be put forward to other priorities. The reform minimizes the risk that the genuinely self-employed workers are impacted by the underlying off-payroll rules. So they've scrapped it. So again, IR35 is not disappearing. This is from His Majesty's government. And what this means is that there's still risk for those of us who are still contracting, and this doesn't apply to me because I'm permanently employed. And I say it again, October 2022. So you still have to be careful if you are reading this in 2023, pre 6th of April 2023. Right, crystal balls on that. So clients, economy and market. The thing is, contracting, let me be honestly truthful, it's not a happy dance forever, and it is feast and famine from my experience. So 1 minute you have 6 months rolling contracts and even a 12-monther, and suddenly that ends, and because of the economy and Keynesian economics and the rest of it, and demand for people and projects, suddenly it could be famine. And bear that in mind. You very rarely will have a run greater than 2 or 3 years. And the reason why IR35 was brought out is because what I call contractual inflation. There are or have been permitractors who worked at the same big bank, I'm not naming names, for over 4 years and kept working as a contractor, and that is where they should have been working as employed, and they didn't change their gig or whatever. Having said that, come April 2023, and this is where I think this is important, that the recruitment market is driven by clients who need jobs or work on demand. And in October 2022, for the first time, I'm reminding you, we don't know who is going to be requiring contractors on demand. So having said that, we don't want to confuse taxation with economics ever. Clients don't change their demand. Markets do. So if the market and the supply demand for contractors is low, or one side of it, if there's a suddenly demand for contractors and there are less contractors on the market, then contract rates will probably go up, providing that the clients are prepared to do this, raise their contract rates. But suddenly, if there's a dearth of contractors on the market, say March 2023, because they're expecting new outside IR35 contractors, then contract rate may go down, and they're so expect some kind of fierce competition regarding outside IR35 post 6th of April 2023. Of course, the clueless, and no offense to permitractors, will probably jump from inside IR35 into outside IR35 with a proviso, with caveat emptor. I guess going from inside IR35 to outside IR35 is problematic, and will be, whether you stay with the same ultimate client or leave there and find a different industry. So don't be one of those guys and girls. Hold off jumping between inside IR35 to outside IR35 in the same contract. It's, in my opinion, as an ex-contractor, you definitely want a clean break. So if you are handing in your notice on March 2023, do it like on the 5th of March 2023, and that means that's a clean break for you. Then you will not be subject to the repeal or crossing the boundaries on that repeal day. I do expect, because of the economy, musical chairs happening. There's only so many seats. There's only so many contractual jobs that will appear in the economy. And given that we are still the Europe still has this Ukraine or special operation, and then give us a crystal ball. Clients also need to manage their energy crisis. So they may just be not that amount of money to give a contractor a lavish income or pay for work that he's doing. So only, I guess, the very best in the business will reap the benefits. If you are one of those working in Linux security, then Bob's your uncle or Sheila is your auntie. You can resign in, say, February 2023, go off on the ski slopes while the world is out, possibly not at war, and then happily land a contract in April 2023. Anyway, that is dreamland. I doubt for most of us, if you are in the contracting market, will see it just like that, because a lot of people do work inside IR35. For those of you who, like me, who have closed their limited company, there's a rule to be aware of. It's called the Target Anti-Avoidance Rule, called TAR, TAAR, and this is to prevent phoenixing, which is the practice of liquidating a company and then restarting a similar identical company in order to avoid paying tax. So it certainly happens if you have a company and it has, for example, 150, 200k in the bank, and suddenly you want to wind it up by getting so if you want to wind up, you have round up your company, and it say has 150k or 200k, and if you're being extremely fortunate, say you worked in investment banking and you round up your company, then you have to wait at least 2 years to start a limited company again. That's assuming that you did wind up your company, you took the money, you closed the company down, you paid it into your personal account, and therefore you paid less tax to take advantage of the benefit of winding up your company. You don't have to pay 40% or maybe 45% on income. So this is to stop you avoiding tax. So if you voluntarily liquidate your company in, say, September 2022, then you're only 100% safe to re-engage in contracting in another limited company on September 2024. If you are sort of like me and you struck off your company with a DS01 and didn't use an NVL a voluntary liquidation company, then you're perfectly able to restart on the 6th of April 2023 as a new outside IR35 limited company. Okay, so that's understood. So if you're already contracting inside IR35 in October 2022 is when I wrote this, and you're using the umbrella and taking PAYE, what to do on the 5th of April 2023. I do not recommend switching from inside IR35 to outside IR35 with the same ultimate client, because possibly you will be caught by the revenue and possibly put on investigation, because IR35 still applies. So if you were treated as inside and suddenly went from PAYE to just personal service company, then that might flag a few warnings. So resign beforehand and find a brand new contract with a different client. So for example, switch from Sainsbury's to Tesco's or vice versa. And what I mean by ultimate client, as far as I know, Sainsbury's is not merging with Tesco's or vice versa. So they're two separate legal entities with no intermediary or group company in between them, and they are going to be that way for the foreseeable future. And finally, be aware that banks, and when I say banks, I'm talking about investment banks as well, that issued a blanket ban on outside IR35 contractors who, therefore, you were inside in the pandemic years. They may not give you a SDS. This is a status determination statement, more confusing literature. For any work or any contractual work that you were doing pre the repeal date. So if you are inside working for, say, Lloyd's banking group, say on I suppose in March 2023, you're not going to get an SDS. Remember what the government statement said about making it easier for businesses without the administration. So you are at risk if you're working for Lloyds Banking Group and inside, and then you switch to an outside with the same contract to the same ultimate client. It doesn't make any sense. So probably the only safe way is for you to finish that inside IR35 contract and then leave and then start with a new outside IR35, or hand in your notice if you find something that's going to start post the 6th of April 2023. Wow, so there's a lot to take in there, and it's all because this is a slide I gave last year, actually, or 18 months ago in 2020, which explains the nonsense. So I guess what we are heading back to, off payroll, which is disappearing, thank goodness, is that in 2020 I questioned myself, was this the end of UK contracting? And I thought it was, which is why I became permanent, really. And then my oh my, was I surprised by when they repealed IR35, the off payroll working rules, which was great because it might be a rebirth. But however, it is fingers crossed, because who knows, with a cost of living crisis, possibly an escalating war and energy crisis and whatnot, it may not all be this happy dream. Anyway, this is the end of this little video, and I hope you liked it, and I'll see you soon.